Welcome, everybody, to Catfish Weekly, presented by Whisker Wear Apparel. We are here today on a special Wednesday edition with Dale Russell Lowe Jr. and his son Chase. And these guys caught a 141-pound blue cat in a tournament over the weekend. And with conflicting work schedules and different things, he couldn't be on the show with us Monday night. So we brought him in this afternoon so everybody could understand what goes on with catching a fish that size. How's it going tonight, fellas?
We're doing good. Everything.
Chase, how you doing?
Good.
Good? Awesome. That's quite a fish you guys put in the boat the other day. I mean, 141 pounds, that's a giant. I mean, we run tournaments for years and years, and I weighed fish right around 100 pounds on numerous occasions, but 141, that's just a giant.
Yeah, we're still in shock ourselves.
I'm pretty sure you are. Is there any particular rhyme or reason why you was the guy that got to put the fish in the boat other than one of your partners?
I mean, there's really no reason. Basically, we were sitting in the wind was beating us to death, and he had asked me to. The wind was beating us to death, and we were sitting sideways in the wind. So the only thing we did different was move the boat and point it in the wind, and that was when we caught it.
I see. Was this fish on structure or anything like that?
I was fishing on some stumps, but basically where I was fishing was mainly a flat where the fish come feed.
Mm-hmm. So how deep of water was you fishing?
19 foot.
19 foot. And the water temperature where you was at was?
I can't even remember. I think it was around 46 degrees, I believe, 46 to 50 degrees.
That's pretty warm, compared to what we have here. I mean, that's probably about right for you guys. How many other fish did you catch in that tournament?
We had caught a couple in the teens, and we had one that was 39 pounds.
Man,
and
that's a heck of a
Then we caught this fish around 12:30.
Now, how long did you keep the fish in the boat before you went and weighed in?
We couldn't. I have a 100-gallon live well in my boat, and he wouldn't fit in it. I put him in it, and he curled up in it. So we basically called for help, but we actually had the fish until I think we weighed the fish around 4 o'clock.
Okay. But now you was telling me the other day about a buddy of yours that does a bunch of custom live well stuff, and I've actually visited with him. We're going to have him on the show here in a few weeks to discuss some of that stuff. Would you mind going into detail on what took place when you got to the weigh-in, and you knew this fish was a possible world record, and all the things that you guys done to make sure that this fish stayed alive and survived everything. And again, I seen the video where you released it live. So what you done worked really good, and just kind of tell everybody how that all went down.
Well, like I said, basically my live well, I never thought I'd have a fish that wouldn't fit in it. And when I realized that, I called Austin, and he met me halfway, and we put the fish in an actual landing net to move him from boat to boat. And when we got to the dock, we basically babysit the fish. Austin did a wonderful job making sure the fish was okay, and he stayed with the fish all evening while I was, out talking to people. But he basically just sat with the fish the whole time, and people wanted to see the fish, and I kept telling people I'm not being rude or anything like that, but we're not going to take the fish out until we weigh it, because we didn't want to put any more stress on the fish than we had to. We wanted to make sure the fish lived.
Mm-hmm. That's outstanding.
We kept a really close eye on him all day, and if he would have started acting funny, we was prepared to turn him loose.
Well, that's really good deal. I'm glad to hear that. So many people are more worried about records, and they're nice. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I'm just saying to care enough about that fish survival to be prepared for that is really cool. Now, your buddy Austin, what's his last name?
Austin Sarton.
Austin Sarton, and he specifically builds tournament catfish live wells and builds them to where they will make fish survive in tournament situations or any other situation, but they're specifically designed for that.
That's right. He actually had built that fish off the measurements of the world record. He built
the live well?
Yeah, he built that live well to fit a world record fish.
I see. And now I have forgotten that this fish you caught was really a long-bodied fish. Do you have the dimensions on it?
It was 61 inches long with a 46-inch girth.
61 with a 40-inch girth. That's just a
46-inch girth.
46-inch girth. Wow, man, that's just
with
big. Man, so Chase, is that fish bigger than you was?
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah, from the pictures I seen in the boat, it looked like it probably was a little bigger than you. So when you get in, the scales that they used at the tournament, was they certified, or did you have to go out and get certified scales from someone else?
I honestly can't tell you if his scales were certified or not, but we didn't have nothing to weigh the fish in that was big enough. So he had to find a tub that would weigh the fish and not max out his scales.
I see.
So he eventually found something, and we weighed it, and on his scales it was 141.76.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, and I wanted a citation for it, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't a world record. So we there's a store called Bobcats that's right there, real close to where we was fishing at, and he has certified scales. And the DNR would not come out until we had the fish weighed on certified scales, and it had to be more than 143. So we went to the store, and we had it reweighed there, and it came out to what the tournament scale said, 141.
141.
So, every scale weighed on was pretty much the same.
I can't imagine them guys not wanting to rush out there and try to help you guys do that. In Missouri, by law, any tournament is required to have a legal by trade certified set of scales, because you're winning money, and anything that where the money exchanges hands has to be weighed on a certified scale. So all tournament directors here are required to have certified scales. Now, with that being said, each state has a different set of regulations rules, but if they had certified scales there, I would have thought the Department of Conservation or DNR or whoever it is that you have would have been jumping all over getting down there to make sure to try to help you that fish would have been there. I'm a little surprised at that.
Yeah, we called them, and they wasn't interested at all. And less that the only way they would come out is if it weighed more on the scales, the certified scales.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm a little disappointed in that. I don't know who the guys are, and I'm not sure what kind of regulations and stuff that you have going on down there, but that does disappoint me a little bit that them guys wouldn't care any more about that. You know, if nothing else, them just being the agent that got to write his name on the paper that says it was if it happened to have been a world record, I would have thought that'd been some prestige that guy wouldn't want to miss out on, but evidently that wasn't important to him.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked myself when we called them and they wasn't interested.
Wow. What kind of boat was you guys fishing out of over the weekend?
I have a 2012 218 DLV Carolina skiff.
I see. Plenty of room, a lot of open space.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Now, what body of water was you fishing on?
Bugs Island Lake. It's also called, well, Bugs Island is a nickname for it, but it's Kerr Lake in Virginia and North Carolina in both states.
It's in both states. Okay. Now, was you in the North Carolina water or the Virginia water?
Virginia water.
In the Virginia water. And is the majority of the water in Virginia, or is it in North Carolina?
The most of the lake is in in Virginia.
Okay. That's I didn't know. I've not been out there. I hear a lot of good things about that lake, and you know, there's a lot of guys catching some really quality fish. And do you contribute those fish to regulations that your state has in place?
What do you mean contribute?
The size of the fish that you guys are having out there.
Oh,
You know, we didn't hear nothing about Bugs Island or Kerr Lake, none of that stuff. You know, there wasn't anybody talking about catching anything. But in the last several years, these fish have got to a humongous size in that lake. And I know that there's plenty for them to eat, but have they passed regulations that has permitted these fish to grow to that size?
they have one. I don't know the exact number because I never keep anything, so I don't look. But I think it's one over 36 inches per person.
Right.
But I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think it has to do with the anglers. We have a lot of outstanding anglers here that really promote CPR, and we're really all about that. And all our tournaments, we try to, keep everything alive. So I have to give credit to the anglers.
That's good, and I'm glad to hear that the tournament directors out there are all on board for that. That makes it so much easier for these fish, their survival rate, and with the live wells that you and Austin have told me about, that's quite an extensive deal for somebody to be involved with them to build fish big or live wells big enough to hold fish like that and survive. How long was this fish actually out of the lake?
Oh, from 12:30. I think it was around. I don't know exact times. I think it was around 6:30 when we turned him loose.
So 6 or 7 hours, and when you released him, it looked to me like he was as good as he was ever going to be because he wasn't long about getting out of there.
No, as soon as he touched the water, you couldn't hardly hold him to get the measurement.
Now, did you have any oxygen on that fish?
Austin had something in there. Now I don't know exactly what he had, but he has like what is it, Venturi or whatever? I think the one that puts the real small bubbles in the water.
Right.
Plus,
Circulate the outside air, get the oxygen out of it, and make a fine mist of bubbles inside there. It's sort of like having oxygen, but you don't have to have the bottle.
That's right. And he had recirculation going too.
Right. Now, does that also have an in and out pump where it pumps fresh water in all the time and gets the old stuff out?
Yep. That's why the boat stayed in the water on the trailer.
Exactly. That's so important.
Yeah, and the fish constantly had fresh water and oxygen. So,
now that's really good. That stuff is so important, and I have conversations with guys all the time that tournament guys lose fish and they don't take care of them, and fish die. Well, you're going to lose fish once in a while. I don't care what you do, but I tend to believe that there is more tournament fishermen spend more money on their live wells than just about anything else other than the boat. I mean, nobody wants to lose these fish. We want to preserve them so that Chase can catch that fish again in 10 years and it'd be 170 pounds.
Oh, yeah. You're looking forward to catching him again, aren't you? Huh?
I'll bet so, man. That's a hog. Who was your other partner in the boat with you?
It was my cousin, Stephen Faircloth. He fishes every ice bowl with me. We don't get to see each other a whole lot, but it's like a special thing for us every year. We fish the ice bowl together.
Well, that's outstanding. Now, Chase is pretty laid back. I'm sure he was excited with that fish in the boat, but how was the other guy doing? And how did you handle that?
I was tore up pretty bad. I mean, I've caught a lot of big fish, and me and Chase caught a 100-pounder on his birthday in 2015 in December, and we knew this fish was way bigger than that. So I was pretty shooken up because I thought I was pretty sure I had the record, and I was really worried about the fish. And I think most of my problem was I did not want the fish to die.
Exactly.
And I was stressed out bad about that. I knew the fish needed to be weighed in for the tournament, but I was really concerned about him. But once I realized how good he was doing in Austin's tank, I wasn't worried about it anymore because I knew the fish was going to be.
Yeah, that's excellent. Now, I haven't heard any results. The only thing anybody said was that this fish was caught out there. So I'm assuming that you guys won the tournament, big fish and all the stuff.
Yeah, we won first place. It was a one fish weigh-in.
One fish weigh-in?
Yes, sir. So we weighed in 141 and 0.76. And second place was a good Williams, and he weighed in 156 something. which
He
is a
weighed
really
in
good
what?
fish. A good friend of mine named Landon Williams weighed in second place with a 56-pound blue, which is a really good fish.
Absolutely.
And,
That's a great fish. I'd take those any day.
oh yeah, I would have thought it would have been hard to beat a 56 in a tournament day, and it was 150 entries in the.
Some noise keeps popping up when you're talking. I don't get to hear what you're saying.
It was 150 boats in the tournament.
150 boats. That's an outstanding event. Then you guys done really well. You're competing against 150 boats. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's.
Justin Connor just popped in our chat and he said, "Awesome job, Dale."
Thank you, Justin. It's tough competition out there. I always go in hoping that I do good, but I always go in knowing that I'm fishing against some of the best anglers that's out there, and I just always hope to do good. And just the what I done was just I'm still amazed by that fish.
Oh, absolutely. That's just a stud. It's unbelievable. The highlight of that to me, as a viewer of what was going on and not actually participating in the tournament, was the fact that you caught a fish like that in a tournament. Now, it's not that big fish don't get caught in tournaments, but it seems like usually they're not. But there has been some great fish. I mean, Justin Wolf caught one that was 103, and Jason Jackson caught one that was 105 or 6 a few years ago. And there is some big fish caught in tournaments, but that has to be by far the biggest fish ever caught in a tournament.
As far as what I've been finding and everybody's been telling me, it's the biggest fish that's ever been weighed in a tournament.
Yeah.
And also, it's the biggest fish that's ever been released alive in the world.
Oh, I'm sure of that. I'm quite sure of that. Now, what kind of equipment did you catch this fish on?
I was fishing with the Big Cat Fever medium heavy rods, and I was using their 40-pound slime line, and I had a 60-pound mono leader, and using the Mad Catter HD hooks, the new Mad Catter hook.
Okay, and what kind of bait was you catching this on?
I had cut carp and cut shad out, and I honestly don't know which one he hit. I'm thinking it was the carp.
Okay. Now, how big a pieces of bait was you fishing with?
It was probably 2x2 pieces. It wasn't big pieces of bait.
I see. That's for that size of fish, I would consider that a small bait. When them guys go to Wheeler, like they was telling us Monday night, they're using pound or bigger. Cut the tail off of it, use the whole thing, and that's a giant piece of bait. But a 2x2 is not that big a bait, especially for a fish that size.
No, it's not. But like my buddy Austin Sarton, I can't take this from him. He always says elephants eat peanuts.
He's got a great point, and you can always catch big fish on small bait. You don't necessarily have to be a big bait. But if the bait's too big and you're in small fish, you're not going to catch too many of them on big bait. It does happen, but as a rule, they can't get it and the hook at the same time.
Yeah. We like to use really big bait when we fish the James River. When I fish the lake, I like to size it down a little bit, and especially if the fish are biting funny, we'll put smaller bait on.
Yeah, and I think that makes a difference in cold water. For some reason they'll take small bait now in the summertime when it gets warm or hot. We load up, with the bigger baits, and it does depend on where you're at in current situations. And if you're out pre-fishing a day or two ahead of time, and they're not hitting on big baits, you go to smaller baits and they're hitting on them. That's what you want to go to when tournament day comes around.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to go over and make sure I don't miss too many messages. I can't get on the YouTube thing to see if anybody's in the chat there, but I have got my Facebook page going and the Catfish Weekly chat going. So if anybody's got any questions for Dale, jump on in there on one or the other of them, and I will get you, because I can't do all three at one time the way this show is set up. So if you have any questions for Dale or Chase, send me a message here and we'll get it. Try to get it to him. When's your next big tournament?
I'm not sure when our next tournament's going to be. We have one on the James River this weekend, but I'm thinking we're going to skip that tournament and take the kids fishing on Sunday for fun.
Oh, that'd be good. You'd like that, won't you, Chase?
Yep.
Yep. What kind of weather you guys having out there?
Right now, it's been a really mild winter here. I'd have to go outside. I work at night, so I just got out of bed. But
I see.
It's probably about 50 degrees outside.
That's pretty nice. That's rough. We're in that neighborhood out here today. It was a little warmer yesterday, but and then that's why we would have worked you in somehow on Monday night to when everybody was available to do this. But the guys that can't watch it live today, they'll have to go to YouTube and see it, because it was important that we get you on the show to talk about this, because it's such a great deal to catch that fish. But you go to work at what time did you tell me, 7 or 7:30 at night, and it's just impossible to get to work and be on the show and do all the things.
Yeah, it is.
I can't tell you how happy that everybody is for you catching that fish. It's just that's a giant fish, and to catch it in a tournament and less than 2 pounds, isn't that right, of what you missed the world record by?
Yeah, it was less than 2 pounds. So you figure 141.76 and the record's 143. So it was close. And everybody that was there was pretty much rooting for it to be the record.
Oh, I'm sure so. Ben Weber sent us a question for you, Dale. He says, what was your previous big fish to this one, and what's the story behind it? Well, we went through that just a little bit earlier, Ben. What temperature did you say the water was, Dale?
I'm thinking it was between 45 and 50 degrees. I honestly don't remember what exactly it was.
Right. Well, that's an idea, and he was in about 19 foot of water, Ben. But what was your previous big fish, Dale?
Around 100 pounds in the James River. It had bottomed my spring scales out, and at that time I didn't have a tank to put it in, so I just threw it back.
I see. But it was 100 pounds or and you caught that on Chase's birthday. Is that what you told us?
It was on Chase's birthday fishing trip on December 2015, and that one was in the James River.
That was in the river.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Now, how does them fish fight was there any current in the river?
At that time I was fishing slack tide, so when I caught that fish that time, it was all fish.
I see.
And I like to catch them when the tide gets slow, so I can fight the fish. You catch them in the current and keep dragging them.
Right. We get when we fish the rivers over here, there's usually not much slack, and when you grab a hold of one of them babies, you're fighting the fish, plus you're fighting the current, and they know how to use that current to their advantage.
They do. To me, it's not as fun catching them in the current. I like to catch them where I can actually feel the whole fish.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. It's that's quite a fishery that you got out there. How many other places around out there do you fish tournaments in, or fun fish or anything?
Well, Bugs Island, James River, and I fish Smith Mountain Lake some, because I live pretty close to there. But
I've heard about that lake. Is that a big lake too?
Smith Mountain?
Yes.
It's a big lake. It's nowhere near the size of Bugs Island. I don't know what the exact acreage is, but it's mainly flatheads and channel cats there. There's no blue cat.
I see. Well, flatheads is kind of the king of cats anyhow. But
they're my favorite.
Yeah, mine too. But I don't know about where you're at, but where I'm at, you will win very few tournaments catching flatheads. It usually takes blues to win tournaments in our area.
It's like the James River, you're going to want to weigh blues in. Bugs Island in the spring, it's a lot of tournaments won with flatheads.
I see. I know a lot of guys go to Virginia in different areas and fish a lot of tournaments, and a lot of those tournaments are won with flatheads. And a lot of times I hear that flatheads are about all they catch. But we're not fortunate enough to have that kind of success rate with flatheads where I'm
at. It must be colder where you're at.
At times, I'm in Missouri, southwest Missouri, but We fish the Missouri and the Mississippi River a lot, but I'm close to Lake Ozark and Truman and stuff like that. But I'm not a lake fisherman, so to speak. If they don't have running water in it, I'm really, for the most part, I'm not interested in fishing them if they don't have current in them. And I will fish them. I don't mean that, but if I got my choice, I'll go to a place where there's current versus a lake.
You're missing out.
That's what they tell me, but when you grow up fishing them rivers your whole life, it's kind of hard to change, especially at my age. I'm not big at changing things.
I kind of grew up fishing the lake, and when I started fishing the river, I was lost. So it
Right.
took a while to get a grasp on things there because it was totally different. You know, you had to have different anchors, different gear, different sinkers.
That's
Everything
correct.
was totally different. And here you have to work the tide on the James. So you have to figure out which tide is going where and when the fish bite on what tide and all that stuff.
I can't get my head wrapped around that tidal current, and I know that it goes one direction in the early part of the day and another direction later on in the day, and that's got to be something that takes a little bit of time to learn.
Yeah, it took me a little bit of time to learn it. Once you got it though. It'll fool you some days because the tide charts sometimes aren't exactly right.
I see. Let me check a couple of things here, make sure nobody's got any messages here. Luke Hinges and Ross McClure are at work, and Aaron Wheatley can't see it. Aaron, try to refresh. Well, I don't know what that noise is, but boy, it's loud.
My phone my phone hasn't stopped.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
It hasn't stopped ever since I caught the fish.
I'll bet that's right.
Yeah, for this, I would do it, but
you probably got a lot of people messaging you, but trying to find out about the fish and all kinds of stuff, I would guess.
And I really try to answer everybody, but sometimes messages sneak through when you got a whole lot coming through and you don't get to them.
Right.
But I've been going back trying to answer and make sure I didn't miss anything because, you know, I try to answer everything I can.
Well, and that's when I messaged you. I knew you was going to be busy, and that's why I said when you get a break, if you're interested, let me know, because I knew you was just getting tore up out there. And probably wasn't even home yet. You know, you still dealing with getting the fish weighed and all the stuff. But we did want to get you on the show and visit with you about you know, that's a big deal for everybody in the sport when somebody catches a fish that size. That's just huge. Now, is that the state record for out there? I guess.
No,
the world record would be the state record, wouldn't it?
That's right. The state record and the world record come out of the same lake I'm fishing in.
Wow.
And we was actually fishing a Catfish Showdown tournament the night that fish was caught, but the guy wasn't fishing in the tournament with us.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
I think he caught his fish in June of 2011, I believe.
Right. I remember when it was caught. Yeah. That's again, those are just giant fish, and I assume that you can go out there and get bait about any time you want it fairly easily.
Not on Kerr, not on Bugs Island. It's tough to catch bait there sometimes. You have to really work at it to find them and throw your nets. You can't use gill nets or anything in Bugs Island like you can on the James River. So
right,
you have to get there and throw your arm off sometimes to get bait.
Now, is this a really, really deep lake?
No, it's really shallow on one end and it's really deep on the other end. I think at the dam it's around 100 foot, and at the upper end you have to be really careful. If you don't know nothing about the lake, you're better off to stay away from it because you'll tear something up real quick.
I see. Well, that's like I say, that's a great feat to catch a fish that size. I'm still just reeling about it myself. And how many big fish do you know of, say over 100 pounds, that's been caught out of Kerr Lake in the last 5 years?
It's been right many. Tony Malum was the first one I knew of. He had one 109 pounds, and it's actually in the Bass Pro Shop in Ashland here in Richmond. Um, uh, Travis Combs is a friend of mine. He caught one 135 a couple of years ago. Kevin Davis is a friend of mine. He caught one 109, and there's been a few more. I don't remember all the names, but there's been some right many fish over 100 pounds caught here lately.
Man, that's outstanding. And I'm glad that they have the regulations in place for you guys. But if all the guys that are, the majority of the guys are interested in putting this, these breeding size, trophy size, whatever you want to call them, fish back into water to preserve this, that's really, really a good deal. Ben Weber says, has it become a professional goal of yours to go back and catch that exact fish pre-spawn? He would think that would be good for maybe a chance at a world record.
I'm always hoping to catch a world record, but chances of catching that same fish is probably nearly impossible. But I'm gonna be looking for her, that's for sure.
Aaron Wheatley just come on and said, "Attaboy, Dale, team catch the fever." So he must have refreshed and got in here. But everybody's just so happy that you got that fish, and I'm glad that you took the time out to spend with me today. Chuck and Doc's working, and a lot of viewers are working, but they'll go in, you know, tonight and see it and watch it after that and visit about it. But I just can't. 61-inch fish, isn't that what you said? 61-46.
61 by 46.
That's just.
We're trying to find somebody to do a replica, but we can't find a mount for it. So I don't know what we're going to end up doing.
Nobody's got a big enough piece to start with, do they?
That's right.
Wow. Holy crap. Well, you know, them replicas, they do them now to the point where they actually probably look better than the fish. And I'm sure you got plenty of pictures, so any scars or markings that's on this fish, they'd be able to duplicate it really easily.
Yeah, I got a lot of pictures, so I'm sure.
I'll bet you do. Now, I understand that when you took this in there, you guys had it in this live well of Austin's until time to weigh it. You got it in, out, weighed it, and within 5 minutes it was back in this live well till you went to the certified scales. Is that correct?
That's right. We actually pulled the fish up to the scales in the boat, and we actually put it in a weigh sling, and it was 3 or 4 of us carried it up to the scales and put it in there. And I told everybody then, I was like, I'm not trying to be rude, but we need to do this quick because we want to make sure we don't harm the fish. And everybody wanted pictures. A lot of people didn't get to see it, and I hate that for them. But we was just doing what was best for the fish.
Right.
So we got the fish weighed, and immediately everybody snapped a few pictures, and we put him straight back in the tank.
That's cool. And then he just went on up and checked him into the scales. Now, once you left there, I'm assuming that you went right back to the lake and put him in the boat and took him out someplace and released her.
Yeah, as soon as we did the same thing at the certified scales, we got him out. I told everybody we're going to do this quick. If you're going to get pictures, get them quick. And we put the fish in the weighed it. We got it out. We snapped a few pictures and straight back in the live well he went. And from there, we went straight to the lake and turned him loose. Now,
did you release it reasonably close to where it was caught, or did you just take it out in the water and put it in another area?
It was released in a different area, but not far from where it was caught.
Well, it'll go right back there anyhow.
We released it the closest place from the store.
I see. Go ahead and get it in the water. Yeah, that's understandable. Justin wants to know if you caught it drifting, dragging, or anchored.
A lot of people won't believe me when I tell you this, but only fishing I've ever done is anchored. I've never drifted. I've never drug. I do all anchor. So
all anchored. So he was anchored up. That's all. That's all right. You know, until just a few years ago, some of the most successful catfishermen in the world, the Massengill brothers, they done all their fishing anchored, but they figured out that drifting and they seem to like it. They're pretty successful at it.
Well, for me, I take my children fishing every time I go, just about. And for me, it's about throwing the rods out and spending time with them more than working my butt off all day drifting, you know.
Well, it's more relaxing for a kid. You know, they can sit there and read a book, play a game, do something, and then when the fish bites, they can grab the pole. And you have to keep them interested in fishing. You have to keep them interested in going. And every day you go there, there's not always just a ton of bites. So they have to have something to pull up the slack, so they like to be there.
Yeah, well, even if we're not catching fish, my boy loves. I mean, we went out and camped on the boat. We cook on the boat. We take heaters. We got a tent we put on the boat. We stay
That's
out there
awesome.
3 days sometimes, and he still don't want to go home when we leave.
Well, that's cool. That's way cool.
What's your favorite thing to do?
Catching that big fish.
Catching that big fish. Well, you have to tell Dad next time it'd be your turn for that big fish.
Mm-hmm. When I get older.
Do what?
When I get older.
You probably are a little bit small for that. But you might be able to stick it in one of them rod holders and reel her on up.
He does that sometimes. It's still hard for him, but he does his best.
Aaron missed the first part of the show, Dale. He wants to know what kind of bait you caught that on again.
I had carp and shad, cut carp and shad out, and I don't know which one he hit, but I'm thinking it was the carp.
And now you're talking about common carp. You all don't have the Asians out there, correct?
Just common carp.
Yeah, this common carp. They're everywhere. So
yeah, it's a good bait. I mean, I seen it laying there. I was like, I better cut him up, and I cut him up, and it went long. I caught that fish, but I honestly don't know which one I caught him on.
Right. Well, it doesn't make no difference. It's in the record. It's in the books now. So whichever one it was the right one for that day.
I'll try to have carp and shad next time I go.
Yeah, I can understand that actually. Yeah, that's pretty good. So you put her in this waist sling. You almost have to, for a fish that size, you would almost have to have a waist sling or some way to carry that fish safely at 61 inches. That'd just be tough to do anything with.
It was very difficult to move that fish around. But once we got it in the waist sling, it's got handles on it. It's a waist sling from bottom to elbows tackle. And you know, it's got handles all through it. So if somebody was in the middle and people at both ends, and it wasn't hard to carry it in that waist sling, it made it a lot easier to get down.
So now, does it have more than how? Explain the handles on that.
It folds shut like this, and it's got spots to grab it all the way down the top of it that holds it together. I'd have to show you one to really be able to explain it, but it's actually made for carrying fish.
But it doesn't just have a handle in the middle. It's got them on ends or something.
Yeah, it's spots all the way down that you can hold it.
Okay, good. Well, you know, I'm sure Dave has got it figured out to where it's the best for the safety of the fish, or he wouldn't be dealing with it. That's just kind of the way he is. And if I remember correctly, when he started doing the deal with those, he was helping design them so for that reason, so they'd be safe to carry fish in. And from the pictures that I saw, it kind of looked like that fish was kind of hanging out both ends of it.
Yeah, it was some of him hanging out of both ends.
Oh man, that's amazing. Well,
when we caught that fish, I'm gonna tell you a little bit of the story.
Sure.
You know, I told my cousin, I was like, when I was fighting, we was trying to fight him through the lines, because you can't keep a fish that size from going where he wants to go. And we finally got him out of all the lines. And lots of drag. And I told my cousin, I was like, I've caught 100 before. And I said, this fish is over 80 pounds. And he just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And I said, he might be over 100 pounds. And we finally, when he surfaced, Stephen got him in the net the first time in the head. And he was about 2 foot of him hanging out of the other end of the net. So I grabbed the ring of the net and pushed his tail down in it. We actually sit there for I don't know how long trying to call people to come help us get this fish in the boat. And we couldn't get anybody to answer the phone. So I took a pair of scissors and actually cut the line off to get the pole out of the way, and we just kept grabbing the mesh and rolled him over till he hit the floor. And Steven looked at me. He said, "Well, I think we just won."
You know, tournaments, most all the tournaments with my wife, and I'm not sure her and I could get a fish that size in the boat.
I know if I was by myself, I'd have had to tie the rope to it because I couldn't have got it in the boat by myself.
Yeah.
There's no way. And once we got it in the boat, we couldn't get it off the floor to put it in the live well. So, I mean, 140 pounds, you can pick it up, but not when it's slippery and you can't get your arms around it. It's,
you know, and it's live weight. It's not just like a solid object that's not moving. This thing's wiggling and squirming, and yeah, that
it was all we could do. I'm telling you, it's a wonder I'm not in the hospital with getting a hernia fixed trying to put that fish in the live well.
I'll bet. Well, you know, one of the things that I'm taking from this story you're telling us is that anybody that fishes big fish water like that, whether it be Kerr Island, Bugs Island, Kerr Lake, whether it be Mississippi River, whether it be Wheeler, needs to look into getting a weigh sling so they can handle these fish safely to get them in and out of live wells and get them in and out of boats, because that's just it's huge.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna buy me a bigger net, and I'm gonna look into getting a different live well for my boat that will support a fish that big, because you never expect to catch a fish that big. You never expect a 100-gallon live well to be too small. But when it happens, it happens. And if you're not prepared to keep the fish alive, then
Aaron wants to know how long it was from bite till you got it in the net. How long it take to land your fish?
I don't know exactly because I was kind of zoned out, but I'm guessing about 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I'm guessing
fast.
Yeah, I don't give them no slack.
Well, I can relate to that. Yeah. But I know you was telling it was pull and drag, but you must not have had your lines out terribly far.
Well, I mean, I casted it out as far as I could cast it, but the first initial run, he pulled a whole lot of drag, and once I finally got him turned, he swam all the way to the boat, and then once I got him to the boat, he was just fighting up and down. He swam all the way to me.
Oh wow! Well, that helped a little bit there.
He wouldn't have swam all the way to me, I'd have probably had a whole lot longer battle with him. But once you get once you get him under the boat, it's game over. Usually.
Yeah, if they'll come up,
Yeah, you just got to get them up then, but and you don't have to worry about them running in the structure as much.
Right. Once they come off that bottom, then you kind of get away from a lot of that. Now, I'm sure on that lake there's plenty of trees and stuff for structure, but once he gets up off that bottom, your chances of getting hung up in a bunch of stuff is a lot less than it is when they're down deep.
That's right. That's right. You're always more comfortable once you get them up off the bottom. So.
Absolutely. Well, Dale, I can't thank you enough for taking time out. I know you got to get ready to go to work. We really appreciate you coming on the show. We got, I think, from what I'm seeing, around 35 viewers that's watching us live. There's a lot of guys that are at work, and they'll watch this, and they may have some questions. They may try to get a hold of you. They may send some questions to me on Catfish Weekly, and we'll be glad to pass them on to you so you can contact these guys. But congratulations on an outstanding fish.
Thank you very much, and I'll try to answer every question I get, as fast as I can, but it's been kind of hard lately to answer everybody.
Oh, yeah, and they'll understand. Everybody has to know that you've absolutely been swamped with congratulations and questions and all the stuff that goes along with catching a giant fish like that, and they'll understand. And we, as a whole, the whole group appreciates the fact that you are answering everybody's messages and questions and taking it in stride, because it does get overwhelming at times when things go. I know it seems like every time Cindy and I do good in the tournament, we get overwhelmed with stuff like that, and it's fun, but you know, when it gets to be the middle of the night and you're trying to go to bed and they're still coming in, it'll get to you a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to not look at them either, you know.
That, oh no, you want to see them all, every one of them, because you know, you may catch another one like that next week or the next time you go out, and you might never catch another one that size. You just never know. So enjoy it, because it truly is a fish of a lifetime.
Yeah, I know. I hope I catch one like that again, but you know, like I said, you never know.
That's it, and I hope you do too. And I hope Chase gets to catch that same fish in a few years, and I hope it's 150 pounds.
Oh yeah, me too.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Dale, thank you so much. Hey, before we go, is there anybody you'd like to thank, sponsors or anything like that?
I'd like to thank my sponsors, Big Cat Fever. Caleb and Tony have been awesome to deal with. James Arwood with Mad Catter Hooks. The HD hook is awesome. That's what I've been using. And Slime Line, Fish Bite, Rod Holders. I want to thank everybody that day, keep the fish alive, and everybody that was there, you know, supporting me. And I want to thank everybody. If I don't remember all the names, it's just everybody was there for me that day, and I really appreciate it.
Well, that's very nice. And you you have done your sponsors proud with that, and the way you conduct yourself is very professional. You're the kind of guy that we want to keep in the sport and doing well. So again, thank you for being on the show on a special Wednesday show with us. And if there's anything we can ever do for you at Catfish Weekly, just feel free to give me a shout.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, buddy. That'll do it for today's show. I hope you all enjoyed visiting with us about this big fish. And if you was working, I'm sorry, but the way Dale's schedule worked, he has to work nights and couldn't be on a Monday night show. So we got him on here today. You can watch it on YouTube, and standing feet to catch a 141-pound fish. So till Monday night, we'll see you then.